everyone, this is Stephanie, the Raised Bed Guide. I have a degree in horticulture and landscape design. I garden organically in Central Florida. And today we're going to talk about?
We're going to talk about planting onions. We're going to try to cover the varieties. We're going to talk about soil preparation, fertilization, basically the whole process. We want to take you guys through it so you can kind of follow along and grow, big onions just as we do.
Yes, we normally grow onions for the whole year. So for example, we're gonna plant today around 150 onions, which sounds like a lot of onions. However, we do grow for the whole year. So when we harvest them, we make powders, we cook a lot down, and we also always give some away for friends and family. So 150, it is a lot, but also it's not, because it's for a whole year. We are growing a few different varieties this year. We're growing Fedora, Red Creole, and we're growing this new variety for us, which is called Texas Super Sweet 1015Y onion. The trick to grow anything in Florida is growing the right varieties, growing at the right time, at the right place, and knowing our soil, fixing our soil, and having an irrigation system set up. I think for us, whenever we fixed our soil for anything that we're planting in ground, and when we set up our irrigation system, we saw a huge difference when it comes to yield and also performance overall of everything that we have growing. We have a lot of stuff on the back. We have a lot of fruit trees. We have the raised bed garden. We also have some the in-ground garden where we grow a lot of stuff. So let's get started with growing onions. In Florida, onions are normally grown throughout winter. So this means that we have to grow short day varieties. Why do we have to grow short day varieties? During the winter, we receive less sunlight. So onions need a minimum amount of time of sunlight in order to properly bulb. So if, let's say, here in Florida, we grow short day onions. If I were to grow intermediate day onions or maybe long day onions, they probably wouldn't bulb as they should, because they need a minimal amount of sunlight in order to bulb. So they didn't need that window of 10 to 12 hours of direct sunlight in order to bulb up. And if you have grown onions before, you probably noticed that they look like just giant green onions until about February, and then February they really start to bulb up, and around March, April, that's normally when you harvest them. So all the varieties that we're growing here, they're all short day onions. There are other varieties that we have experimented with are Walla Walla, Texas White. There is a native onion to Florida. This variety was bred in Polk County. The variety is called Florida Finley onion. However, they are very, very small. They're a self-multiplying onion, and I wouldn't consider them like a true onion per se, just because they don't get as big as the store-bought onions. They're very, very small, but it's a really cool variety to have, even if you don't have a lot of space, just to have a few in the corner of your garden.
Especially because you could store them yourself for the entire year, then replant them. Whereas these, you're either starting from seed or having to rebuy. Yeah,
so it's a really cool variety to have. If you're interested, Cotico Farm sells them, and also Practical Plants also sells them. So they're available online if you're looking to plant them. However, for the Finley, I believe they're planting around August, so it's already past the window to really plant them. So the best time to plant onions in the state of Florida is between September to December. However, the exact time will really depend if you're growing from seeds, if you're growing from sets, or if you're growing from starts. If you're growing from seeds, you should have started then around September. If you're growing from sets or starts, you plant them now, which is Thanksgiving Day, I guess, like around November and December. So we're growing, so we're growing starts. They don't look really, I guess, too big. They look kind of like baby green onions. And the starts are basically baby plants. So these are grown in Georgia. We got from Haas 2s. So they're grown in Georgia, and then they're pulled out, and then they're shipped across the United States.
And And sets are pre-grown onions from the past season. That means they've already gone through an entire year of growing or entire season, and since they're biannual, they will flower the second year. So the risk that you take in planting sets is if there's any irregularity in the watering or maybe a large temperature change, they could get stressed out and just flower prematurely, in which case all of the energy of that plant is going towards flowering, and you'll get a very tiny bulb. The plant will get hard and stiff, and it just won't be a great harvest.
Yeah, that's why I prefer to grow from starters instead of sets. I noticed that they perform much better than sets. And the other option, you can grow from seeds, like I said before, but you should have already started them if you want to start from seeds. Today we mended the soil with all-purpose vegetable fertilizer, organic vegetable fertilizer. 2 months ago we mended the beds with organic compost. And then we plant the onions about 4 inches apart. I haven't seen many onions getting bigger than 4 inches, but we did have some giant ones last year that it was like almost 2 pounds. So it can happen, but honestly they don't need much more space than that. And we love to use drip tape for everything, especially for things that you kind of like need to space them well, like onions, because you can put each little starter on each little emitter, and the exact distance that you have to plant them. When you plant them, you plant them about 1 inch deep, and it's important to have a consistent irrigation after planting them on the ground. So we like to water about twice a day for like 2 weeks or so. If you have drip, we put about 30 minutes. We set up the irrigation on for about 30 minutes. And then after that, we just water as needed. During winter in Florida, we don't have a lot of rain usually. So having the irrigation system set up, it really helps, like with our time spent in the garden. And then in about I would say a month or 2, we start doing fish emulsion to encourage the green growth. So the bigger the onion before it starts bulbing, the bigger the bulb is gonna be. So it's important to kind of really encourage the green growth when the plant is really on the vegetative growth before the plant starts to bulb up.
Yeah, and that's something really crucial that I'd like to emphasize, because the size of the plant is equivalent to its capacity to photosynthesize. It means to capture energy from the sun and to put that down into the storage bulb, put those sugars down and grow a big bulb. So if you have tiny onion plants, you're going to have a tiny bulb. So you want to really maximize the growth throughout the season, make them big, and we do that with fish emulsion. And making sure it starts out with some good fertility in the soil.
And that's why we also select, when we get our starters, we select the biggest ones for us, and we share anything extra that we have. So I always get a little bit more. So I keep the biggest ones for us, and I donate the rest to ensure that we get the bigger onions. Onions are normally harvested around March through April. To determine if it's time to harvest, you're gonna see the green of the onion starts to fall down. When the green falls down, that means that's time to harvest. I know that in big operations, they pull it out of the soil and let the plants dry in the soil and then bring them to storage. However, what I do, I just take them out of the ground and then let them dry on racks outside on my lanai for about 2 weeks, and then I bring them inside and I really start to process them, making powder, freezing, giving to friends, and I keep some on storage. In terms of pest management, we don't notice a lot of pest problems in our backyard. I think we have had problems with cutworms, and I believe it was about that.
Yeah, you'll get your occasional maybe some
maggots,
some white flies or some, you don't really get too many issues with onions, but you might get some initial when they're
Well,
smaller.
here in Florida, that's the beauty of
Yeah.
growing anything in Florida during winter. The pest pressure is
A lot less.
if compared with summer. And anything else that you want to share?
Yeah, I did want to mention that you do want to stop the fish emulsion. Like we harvest about end of March, so we'll probably stop at the beginning of March. You want to let them, focus more on, maybe you add a little bit more of, phosphorus, potassium at that point if you wanted to. But you stop the fish emulsion because you're not trying to encourage vegetative growth at that point. That's about it. Just make sure they're consistently watered. You could also stop watering as much towards the end. It allows them to dry up in the soil a little bit to prevent rotting. So
Yes.
and I think that's
And
pretty
if
much
you
all there
see
is to
any
it.
splitting on the bulbs, if you start to see splitting, just take it out. Just harvest the bulbs, and also reduce watering, because that's also a sign of overwatering. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. Please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on all the social media channels. I also have a very comprehensive post about gardening in Florida, and I also have a blog post about planting onions in Florida, which I will link below this video. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye.